Was Charlie Kirk silenced by his own allies, or is the FBI covering up a bigger plot? Today, we're diving deep into Candace Owens' bombshell takedown of fake text messages, the shadowy Israeli pressure that shook Charlie Kirk, and why Jimmy Kimmel's firing is the real late-night scandal. Welcome back. It's time to uncover the truth behind Charlie Kirk's tragic assassination as it rocks the nation. First, Candace Owens is going all in, calling out massive holes in the FBI's leaked text messages from killer Tyler Robinson to boyfriend Lance Twigg. Words like retrieve and vehicle from a 22-year-old, that doesn't make any sense. She says that these are doctored, no timestamps are provided, and where is all of the video footage from Utah Valley University? And why hasn't Lance Twigg been arrested? Is the FBI rushing to convict, or are they covering something up? But it gets darker than that. Owens reveals that Charlie Kirk faced pressure from pro-Israeli forces such as Bill Ackman at a tense Hampton summit weeks ago. Threats, blackmail whispers, donor fury over Gaza critique, and hosting Tucker Carlson. Despite denials, text messages, and insiders that hint that Charlie Kirk was shifting to America first and begging Donald Trump to avoid war with Iran. Could this donor backlash explain the murder, or is this just another wild conspiracy theory? I'm going to go through all of this. Finally, Jimmy Kimmel is yanked off ABC. He is blaming this on Donald Trump and Nazism and fascism covering up freedom of speech. But we're going to probably find out that they axed him because his show costs around $100 million. So I'm going to go through all of this. Now, a lot of people are asking, why is Candace Owens doing a full court press on Charlie Kirk's murder? Well, I think it's because she loved him. Some are saying that they were close friends. Others are saying that this is all about getting clicks. Her personality that hates to have mysteries lingering out there. Or is this her attempt to avenge Charlie Kirk with truth and facts? So a few videos back, I read to you guys the entire text message thread, supposedly between Tyler Robinson, the killer, and the boyfriend, Lance Twigg. Candace Owens believes that they are fake, and so do many other people. They're saying some of these words don't exactly line up with how a 22-year-old talks. Let's go ahead and watch this together.
Yeah, these messages are clearly doctored, is what I would say. They're doctored. Now, they could decide why they're doing that. Tyler's being forthcoming. We're protecting him in some capacity. I find that to be unacceptable. Okay? Unacceptable. I want every single text message. I want timestamps. It is conspicuous that you are not telling us when this was sent, because it sounds like it's when the campus is on lockdown and he's got to go back and he's got to clean up. And then all of a sudden we're in the next day when his dad is getting clued in after the picture's been released. They're not telling us that. Okay. And you have a right to be a little bit uncomfortable about that, because I'm a lot of bit uncomfortable about that.
So I had said to you guys that for me, this message thread looked genuine, but it looked like it was maybe practiced or written out in order to get Lance Twigg out from being guilty as a co-conspirator. But Candace Owens is saying there's something fake about the entire thing. She points out that Tyler is a 22-year-old and would not be using words like retrieve, my old man, or vehicle. This isn't the way that 22-year-olds, or squad car when talking about a cop, right? Why wouldn't you say a cop or a car or my dad or get? Retrieve, old man, vehicle, squad car. This is not how 22-year-olds talk. Now, someone who follows Candace closely pointed out that these text messages just happen to perfectly line up with everything that you would need in order to convict somebody. So this is Murray, somebody that I follow. I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I have a really hard time believing in a short text exchange, the alleged shooter makes his confession, confirms location of the weapon, confirms the type of weapon, confirms it was wrapped in a towel, confirms his motive, exonerates the decoy, George Zinn, admits the bullet engravings, confirms the wardrobe change, confirms how long he's been planning it, discloses the existence and location of a now destroyed pre-written confession note that we don't have, randomly tells his boyfriend that his dad is diehard MAGA, as if he wouldn't already know given the nature of their relationship, and is worried about his dad or grandpa being upset if he doesn't come home with the rifle, not the fact that he had just committed a murder. So it all lays out a little too perfect. And Candace Owens makes some really great points. Like, if the FBI is really so concerned with public imaging, sharing everything, overcoming the stupidity of the FBI from the Obama years through the Biden years, then why aren't they releasing the timestamps? Why aren't they sharing more photos? It's believed that there's between 500 and 1,000 HD quality cameras at UVU. Why aren't they releasing more video? However, she can demand all day long and offer to put this on her platform, but I don't believe the FBI is going to do anything because we've now moved from crime to conviction. So while we're all wanting a true crime podcast-like situation, all of those, as popular as they are, they're all about crimes of the past, and we're still right in the thick of it. So although I would love more photos, timestamp, somebody to walk us through exactly start to finish what happened, all of the video, I just don't know that the FBI is going to do that, because now they are in the process of trying to send this guy to jail and then put his warm body in front of a firing squad, which is the right under the death penalty with the state of Utah. So again, I would love some credibility. Another question that I agree with Candace on is, why hasn't the boyfriend been arrested? Yes, he was brought in for questioning and then dropped off at his parents' place while they searched his house, but then we're not told that they found anything. So again, maybe he's still a suspect, but they've let him out and now they're just following what he does and what he says. But let me know in the comments, why do you think that so much information is being withheld from us? Let me know in the comments. Does the language and the perfect layout of a crime seem just a little too good to be true? And why does it sound like such adult language versus a 22-year-old in his college age years that plays video games all day and hated Charlie Kirk? I don't know. Again, I think we're all wanting a true crime podcast-like situation, and I believe that we will get that down the road. So now people are asking, okay, why is Candace Owens going so hard in the paint, right? Like, why is she pushing so hard on this? Is it because she loved Charlie Kirk? Is it because she helped to start Turning Point, that they were friends? Or did they actually have a falling out and this is just all about getting clicks? I want to share some videos from the Patrick Bet-David podcast where it comes out that they weren't exactly on speaking terms. In fact, no one had seen them together in several years. Let me go ahead and play that for you right now.
Were Candace and Charlie friends? Yeah, they were. I challenge anybody, please help me out here. Show me one picture, one podcast, one evidence that they've even been in the same room in the last 2 years. The last thing I found, the last time they did anything was on October 3rd, 2023. Ironically, a couple days before October 7th. Show me any evidence that they've been in touch, they've been in dialogue, they've done anything together. I would love to see it. So they were friends. I don't think they are friends. I think that Candace is capitalizing on Charlie's death. I think she feels horrible. She doesn't feel good about this, but Candace is an opportunist. And if we know anything about Candace, over the last couple of years, has she been biased, non-biased towards Israel? In my mind, she's been blind with rage.
All right. I'm going to bring that up further here in a couple of minutes, but they hadn't been seen together in years, and there's no documentation of them having any kind of communication in almost 2 years. So why is she doing this? And why are people calling into question her motives? Later in this same podcast, you have a Turning Point board member, Eric Bowling, who's been on my show, and he goes through, he's trying not to throw Candace Owens under the bus, but he's also trying to tell the truth that, like, she was quietly dismissed, just like she was at the Daily Wire, because she was going too deep into conspiracy and too deep into hatred and things like that. Let me pull this up and let's watch this together.
Early on, 2011, 2012, 2013, they were tight. They grew TPUSA like crazy. I was shocked to see her leave until being part of TPUSA, her theories got just a little bit too down the rabbit holes. It was too extreme for their taste. And Charlie, to his credit, kept a cordial friendship with her for years, but it hasn't been a communication pipeline back and forth between the two for many years. That's why I don't know why we give Candace Owens's assessment any weight at all.
You're on the board of Turning Point?
Yeah.
Okay. When's the last time you saw Candace Owens?
In person?
Yeah.
2015,
Oh,
2016.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. No,
When's the last time she was at a Turning Point event?
Not in many years.
Okay.
But
so let's without even being biased.
There's
Candace even involved in Charlie Kirk's life at all?
Question proof that Candace Owens has nothing to do. She would be in a perfect world if they didn't have this. What I already know was a very quiet breakup where she got too rabbit hole for him. She would be the logical heir to the TPUSA throne, but
now she's not even invited.
Correct. So this is so their divide is.
Wait a minute, not invited meaning
she's not even there.
Yeah, she's not there. One of the names.
You don't think she'll be at the funeral?
No.
That's not the funeral.
The heir to the
TPUSA
throne.
She doesn't speak at the events anymore.
I mean, Erica.
That's a reason
Erica
for
Kirk.
that.
I mean,
what is Erica Kirk's relationship with Candace at this point? Is there a relationship?
I don't think so.
Why do you not think so?
Because I live in this world.
Okay.
I live in
this world. Tell us.
I don't see them together. I don't think Candace has created a lane for herself. Yeah. It's her own lane. She wants to go after Macron's husband or wife or whatever you want to call him. Mm-hmm. She wants. I agree that I think it's cheap that she is sparking this up like she knows something between something happened between Ackman and Charlie. For what reason?
Here's what I would say to me.
Okay, so you have competing podcasters, Patrick Bet-David, others, they're all trying to cover this show. I'm trying to cover this show. I interviewed Charlie twice. I feel like covering his story, getting to the truth and justice is one of the only ways that I can maybe make up to him what happened to him, right? So I tend to not think that Candace Owens has bad intentions. At the same time, we just learned that they weren't really friends anymore and things got really bad between them. And if she had stayed, she'd be the one taking over Turning Point USA. Now, I think they probably parted ways and had differing beliefs on big topics like Israel, Macron's wife, and the wife's gender. But I believe that Candace Owens probably loves Charlie Kirk, like many of us do. And she feels like she can avenge his death by doing good reporting and holding people accountable. We're all trying to get to the truth. And the reality is a lot of people in government lie, big pharma lies, big chemical. So much of the world is driven by money and trying to control us. Well, big pharma knows a strong population is harder to control. That's why the FDA keeps stem cell therapy away from you. Stem cells are your body's natural repair system, healing injuries, regenerating tissue, and keeping you sharp as you age. Check out this story just to see how life-changing stem cells can be.
I took my daughter Lydia to Panama for a stem cell treatment that's illegal in the United States in hopes of helping her diagnosis of cerebral palsy. We weren't really sure what to expect, or even if the $18,000 we spent would be a complete waste. But before we even left Panama, we had already noticed that Lydia was showing more emotion and relaxing her fists. It's supposed to take 3 to 6 months for the final results to be set in, so we're officially a third of the way there. Here's what's changed. Within just a couple weeks, all of Lydia's muscles started to relax, which made way for more physical advancement.
Now, the problem is that most stem cell treatments are banned in the United States, not for safety, but because they threaten Big Pharma's profits. Families today pay anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000 in Mexico, Colombia, and Panama to get stem cells. That's why I've partnered with Black Forest Supplements. They're fighting back with affordable, innovative solutions. Their cocoa flavanol naturally boosts stem cell activity, and studies show just how 2 cups a day can double stem cells in your bloodstream. In fact, studies show that just 2 cups mixed in with coffee or a shake or something can help your own body release stem cells from your bones like a bee coming out of a beehive. I've showed you guys that before. That's why Black Forest created high flavanol cocoa, a concentrated powder that keeps all the stem cell boosting components intact. Now, it helps boost natural stem cell production, nitric oxide, brain function. It reduces inflammation and even supports longevity. This isn't your regular cocoa. It's stem cell fuel, and it's not broken down in the chocolate making process. So no sugar, only 20 calories. You can put it in coffee or your shakes. Now, right now, Black Forest is running a special. They are doing 40% off for the next 48 hours. Every purchase also supports fighting against Big Pharma's stranglehold on stem cell treatments. So I'm going to leave a link down below. Go do your research and get some right now. That's my 2 cents. Is she an opportunist? Yes, probably, right? At the same time, there is this huge fight between Candace and Israel because Candace believes there was a massive pressure campaign on Charlie Kirk for not liking the way that Israel is handling Gaza and their influence over U.S. Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massie, and many others have now been labeled anti-Semite for pointing these very things out. Even Charlie Kirk was starting to be called an anti-Semite, even though I don't believe he or any of these people are anti-Semitic. I think they just don't like the war in Gaza. Now, as Charlie Kirk began to research Gaza and Israel's influence over U.S. Congress, he was concerned about what he saw. He wondered, is this really America first? And it's on record that he had begged President Trump not to bomb Iran and to avoid war at all costs. Tucker Carlson pointed out that Turning Point, although good at what they did, survived mostly on donations. And most of those donations came from pro-Israel donors. So Tucker Carlson claims that Charlie Kirk was harassed by these people until the day he died for putting Tucker Carlson on a stage. Now, I don't have the texts. I don't know the conversations, but I know many pro-Israel people didn't like Charlie having Tucker Carlson or Dave Smith or others on stage. Now, I know a guest that I have on my show that I like, Josh Hammer. He's Jewish. He said that he was in nearly daily communication with Charlie Kirk over the last year, which tells me that he or people close to him were either consulting or were part of the donor group that was agitated about having Tucker Carlson. But Josh Hammer debated Dave Smith over Israel and the Israel-Gaza war. So I believe that Charlie Kirk loved Israel and the Jewish people. He even said, I'm trying to give them grace because they are in paranoia over the war. Now, I'm just thinking logically because I believe money runs most of the world. I believe that Charlie Kirk felt that it was okay to open dialogue and to host opposing voices because Charlie Kirk believed in freedom of speech. However, from a money perspective, and specifically a donation perspective, there is no rate of return on your money. In fact, there is no return of your money. So you're literally handing it over. So if I'm Jewish and I support a mostly Christian organization that I believe will improve the country and push forward Judeo-Christian belief and conservative values and get good conservative leaders elected, and I run a 501c3, then I expect this is the mission of the group. So if the group starts to then question where the very values and causes of the people putting up the money, I can see why they would be irritated. Now, Candace Owens goes on to say that there was an event this summer in the Hamptons where creators came to discuss hot topics. But billionaire Bill Ackman and others, they're saying, yes, this event happened, but there was no pressure campaign and nobody was screaming at Charlie Kirk. Most of the people that went to that event said that they didn't see anything and that everything, that it was a good event. However, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and others, they're saying that they know that Charlie Kirk left that event shook and feeling blackmailed. Now, it does sound like Charlie Kirk was in a better relationship with Tucker Carlson than with Candace Owens. However, I'm going to have to dig into this more. Right now, there is a huge internet fight on Twitter between Candace Owens, Bill Ackman, and others. The New York Post is trying to come between the two and host a debate or work through this. So it's a big mess right now, right? So you'll have to make your own decision. So Candace and others are trying to cover the Charlie Kirk death and the Israel story. And I want my audience to know that I don't think the two cross over. They have hinted that maybe Israel killed Charlie Kirk. I personally don't believe that is true. There may have been a pressure campaign and Charlie Kirk was killed, and I don't think the two stories overlap. So that's just my opinion. Again, more could come out, but I don't believe that Charlie was anti-Semitic, and I don't believe that the Jews were doing anything crazy like this. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys can let me know. All right. Why was Jimmy Kimmel fired? Before I answer that, I have to say I took a lot of joy in reading the headline that he had been let go. All right. Maybe that makes me a bad person. But this is a guy that has harassed President Trump, conservatives, MAGA, for a really long time. He is one of the voices that has said how dangerous MAGA is, that we were ruining the country, that we were the reason that America was in a downfall. So again, I'm just going to be honest, it brought me joy to read that. At the same time, even though this guy has said vile things about people like me, religious Christians, Donald Trump, I still believe he has the right to say that. However, he might not have the right to say that on ABC or on a Disney platform. So the story we are being told is that he made an inappropriate joke that a MAGA person killed Charlie Kirk. Jimmy Kimmel then went on to mock President Trump about a ballroom versus Charlie Kirk. Let me just show it to you so that we are all looking at the same thing.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, You can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Okay, so that was the joke that supposedly got Jimmy Kimmel fired. So now Jimmy Kimmel Live has been canceled. Personally, I think the network was looking for any reason to fire Jimmy Kimmel because his show and his personal salary cost them a ridiculous amount of money. Remember, a lot of the world runs on money. We learned that the Stephen Colbert show cost like $100 million and that they were losing $50 million a year to keep him on the air. So now going back to the Donald Trump thing, at first I thought President Trump was being dismissive. There's a lot going on with Charlie Kirk. How are you doing today, sir? Right? I think this could be one of two things. This could be that you heard all of that airplane, helicopter noise. It could be that President Trump didn't fully hear the question. I have noticed over the last month, whenever there's a helicopter around, he leans in more. What? Say the question again. So he may be having a hard time hearing when there's the helicopter noise around. However, I actually believe that President Trump was trying to not draw attention to his own feelings about the death of a close friend. Why would he do that? Because he doesn't want anyone else that he loves or is close to be killed in order to hurt him. So I believe he would rather look callous and dismissive than risk the life of somebody else that he loves. Now, Bill O'Reilly, who I like and respect, he weighed in on this topic about the firing and the joke. Let me go ahead and play that.
Kimmel was not treated unfairly. He knew what he was doing and did it anyway, and he's paying the price. But I'm telling you, I don't feel good about it. I wish he had not done it. I wish he had called me and read me the monologue. I would have said, Jim, no way that's appropriate. No way. Think about the widow. Think about the widow of Charlie Kirk. And you're accusing millions of Americans of being complicit in his murder. That is not true. You are misleading. You can't do that. And that is the story.
So he is saying that it wasn't because of Trump. It wasn't because of freedom of speech. It was a poorly placed joke. And that it shouldn't have been done. Like, there's millions of people that are grieving. You just accused all of us of being a murderer like Tyler Robinson, and you didn't take into account the widow who is dealing with a public execution on live TV. I mean, this was really, really horrible, as you know. Now, Megyn Kelly and others, they weighed in on this. Let me show you this. Megyn Kelly said, just think for a minute about the amount of irate mail and viewer feedback they must have gotten to do this. So she, again, doesn't think this is because of Donald Trump. She doesn't think this is because of the FCC or Benny Johnson's reporting. She thinks that this 100% came down to the people that watch Jimmy Kimmel being horrified that he would mock this situation, that he would label MAGA people as murderers and be that insensitive. And Stephen Miller, a commentator over on X, he had this to say: the national media being more upset at Jimmy Kimmel losing his show than they are Charlie Kirk losing his life is kind of proving the point, right? Jimmy Kimmel lost his job for telling a lie. Charlie Kirk lost his life for telling the truth. So there's a big difference, right? And they call us Nazis and Hitler and a threat to democracy and the worst thing that ever happened to America. And then they're surprised when they get fired or that they have consequences. They wanted us to have consequences. They did not want themselves to have consequences. But this is the left for you. This is politics for you, right? Rules for thee, but not for me. So again, I believe they were looking for any excuse because it was absolutely costing them a fortune to run a show that was going down in ratings every single year. He was not getting the same bang for the buck, especially with bad jokes. So I believe that Megyn Kelly is probably right. I believe that Bill O'Reilly is probably right. I believe that Stephen Miller and my own idea is probably right. But let me finish off with showing you what Benny Johnson and President Trump had to say. Benny Johnson said President Trump goes scorched earth on Jimmy Kimmel after he was canceled and fired by ABC. Let me show you what was said exactly by President Trump.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else. And he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
Right. He was fired for lack of talent. Again, what better excuse to throw to the left than we had to fire him because of MAGA and Donald Trump, when in reality, it was because his ratings were so bad and his show was so expensive. All right, please, I want to hear from you. I read as many of your comments as I can. Hit the like button and let me know what you think of the Candace Owens situation, her motives behind this, the Israel Charlie Kirk situation, and the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. Stay amazing. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.